So I'm doing this video in response to somebody mentioning about the bamboos that I'd shown on my last video and their concerns about using bamboo in their own garden. So what I said I'd do is just do a little video, a short video on why really you should be using them and why I use them. This one is a strictly clumping bamboo and it's called Thamnocalmus crescenodus Q Beauty, and it really is a stunner. It is available. I think you can find it in some garden centres in the UK. I had to send away for this one to a company called Pan Global Plants, and they're in the UK, and they do mail order. And then there's the Big Plant Company, which also do, I believe, do bamboos, and you should be able to get this sort of bamboo from them. Now this has these very, very fine leaves, as you can see, and they're absolutely beautiful. And I've been growing bamboos for years, and I, like others, made the mistake of growing Phylostachys types, because it says in the garden centres that these Phylostachys types are clump forming bamboos. Not strictly true, that, once they get established. In about year 3, some Phylostachys will send out runners, and I'll try and describe that the best I can. So a Phylostachys at this time of year, and we're in May now, would send out a little, this will be better to look at, that one there. Now it would send that out and it would actually go horizontally across the ground. And then it would go through the soil and then pop up somewhere else. And sometimes that could pop up at 6 metres away if you've not spotted it. And these things can get into the lawns and they can cause a real problem if it's an established clump. So I always shy away from these. The most common ones are the black bamboo that you'll come across, and that is a Phylostachys, and that's the most common one. Then there's a Oreo sulcata, I think it's called, and that's the golden bamboo, and that has a little stripe in it as well, or one variety does. Now, I would avoid those, definitely avoid them, don't go with it. I've done it in the past and made a big mistake. But we all live and we all learn. So now I head for clumping bamboos. Thamnocalmus crescenodus is probably the best as far as I'm concerned. And I got this one, as I said, from Pan Global Plants. There's the label. Now the price you see there when I bought it, that was for 1, maybe 2 stems. So this is now been with me 6 years in this garden for the last 3. And as you can see, that's all it's done. And all it'll do is it'll slowly clump bigger over time, or wider, but not by much. As you can see, there's a big culm. These are called culms. Basically the cane coming up. That could go up to 12 foot. And this is still a immature plant, remember. Only been in this garden 3 years, so it's probably going to reach 9 foot this year, 10 if I'm lucky, and it is a real good one and a clump former. Now there are lots of clump formers, and I'm no bamboo expert by a long chalk, but I know what to look for as far as clumpers are concerned, and this is a really good one. So look for that one, that's a really nice one. So as I said, Phylostachys will run in about the 3rd year generally. And when I say they'll run, they really will. Now this one, this is a nice upright one. And it's a Fargesia, and it's Nitida, and it's called Obelisk. Now as you can imagine, obelisk means, as it sounds, as an obelisk shape. In fact, that wire thing there, that's pretty much how it grows, like that. And it'll do just that. It'll never ever come out of its clump. Most Fargesias never leave their clumps. All they do is they make bigger clumps. Obelisk in particular will stay very, very skinny. Some will be bigger, but none as thin as this. I don't think. I've not come across any others as thin as this one. But anything with the word obelisk in it, I've got plants with the word obelisk in it, and it always means as it says. The shape of that telegraph pole and that wire little feature. So look for those as well. So that's Fargeses. Now I would recommend that you go for any Fargesia, because all Fargesias are good. One that I'd probably shy you away from at the moment is one called Fargesia nitida, and it's Robusta. And that's simply because it's a little bit quicker than the most of them, and it might actually scare you if you're new to bamboos and you're just trying to get one established. Now this one is called Formidable. Let's have a look at the label. See if I think I keep the labels for a while till I get used to them. And again, this one's been in 3 years. This one's been in 3 years. And this is Fargesia, and it is a Robusta type, Formidable. So again, but it's still a nitida type, and it won't eat you out of house and home. It will grow a bit quicker because it's a Robusta type. Now I plant these things so that I know over time I'm giving it its space. Because I plant them, when I plant them, I'm planting them with the area in mind where I've planted them. I want them to be there for a particular reason. Obelisk, I wanted to be there because I wanted it next to the pillbox, and I wanted it almost statuesque. A bit like the soldiers that stand down at Buckingham Palace, so it would stand next to it like that. So that would be quite a nice little tie-in with it, with the pillbox, which is that. So back to this one. Robusta Formidable is going to be quick once it gets going. And what we say, and I've said this many times before, first year the sleep, second year the creep, and the third year the leap, and this is true of these as well. So another good one to get, but remember, this is going to go quicker into a bigger clump quicker, but it'll still be a clumper. It won't be a runner. I will not find this in the middle of that border over there in 3 years' time. It just won't happen. Here's the base, and as you can see, there's one coming a bit further out, but that's what I want. This is what I intended. This is why I picked this particular one, because I want it to cover all that area. And the reason I've got it here is because I want it to give me some privacy down here on the decking. So from here, over time, that's going to get to 12 foot again. And when I'm sat down here, or we're sat down here, having a nice cup of tea, that's going to be tall enough. In fact, it's probably going to be about the same size as the tallest branch on that shrub that you can see back there, which is a viburnum. And it's probably going to be about that height, and it's going to give me this lovely screening effect. And that's what I want. So don't fear them. Again, I'll keep repeating myself through this video. Don't fear them. They have some lovely canes, some of them. Some of the Fargesias in particular only have little skinny canes. Unlike the one I just showed you a minute ago, Thamnocalmus, they have bigger and fatter culms and canes. Now this is in its 3rd year in the garden, and as you can see, it's now starting to leap. And this is what I wanted. I want this to get up as far as it'll go. But it'll never ever cause me a problem. It'll never cause me a problem. Now, if it gets to a size where you think, well, that's just a little bit too big, then you can get something called a grafter fork. A grafter spade. And the grafter spade is a real heavy-duty, skinny spade. Some people call them rabbiting spades, but they're actually a grafter's spade, and they're very, very heavy, and you chop down into it. Some people use axes. I'd still recommend this spade because it's so much easier. And you can dig clumps out, and now is the time to do that. This time of year, as it starts pushing up new growth, you can chop it in and get rid of it. Now, another good way of stopping it from getting too big in your clump, if you're not happy that it's going to be massive, is to, as soon as that culm comes up out of the ground, and you got to be watching a month ago, and what you can do is you can simply, and I won't do it on here, I'll just show you, you would take off the tip, you would just simply snap the tip out of the ground. And that would stop it immediately, and that's it, it's done. It'll not grow any further than that. So remember, every time that the cane grows, that's going to grow in one season, and it will never ever grow any bigger. It can be cut and it can be treated like a hedge. This can be treated like a hedge. You can cut it to say 4 or 5 foot for a hedge, and it will send up all this growth again. All this new growth will keep shooting from the side bits. They'll just keep coming out. So some of them are really good for hedges, but I'm not an expert again. You would have to check up with a bamboo company to see which ones would be better suited for that. I've got this, as I said, for the reason of privacy, because I wanted it as an evergreen. Now, although the grass will give me that privacy this year, it's not an evergreen. So people can see through that. We'll go down to this one. Now this one is intended to give me screening again. And part of the reason it's here is because originally, before I put up the shack here, before I put that up, we could clearly see that sign. And before everything else got put in there, we could clearly see that sign. And Kathy, my girlfriend, doesn't like that. Now, unfortunately, we can still see it from the French doors up there. But this is going to change that in the next 2 to 3 years. This will again, it'll grow taller, it'll get to 12 foot, and it will give me that look I want. I cannot remember exactly which type this one is. I do know it's one called Fargesia Winter Black. So if you look for that in your garden centres or online, Winter Black, I think it's a Murellii type, which is a more fountainous type. So as you can see, it's coming outwards that way. Rather than strictly erect, it's coming like an umbrella. And I'm sure that's a Murellii type, but it's still Fargesia type. So it'll only ever clump, and it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, the clump, and that's all it's going to do. And it'll do it at a speed that you can cope with. Just remember, put it into the area you want it, where you know it's not going to cause a problem. Don't forget, bamboos do really well in large pots, and it has to be a large pot, really. If you want it to do anything seriously big, then you need to keep it in a pot, just to contain it and to make it look good. If you don't put it in a big enough pot, it will struggle. I've tried this in the past, but they do okay in pots. If you wanted something like the Philostachys and you wanted the black bamboo, you could grow that in a pot. I've seen it grown very effectively in a pot, not much bigger than this dustbin in circumference, and it was growing really, really nice. But they'll always look better in the garden. So we'll walk down here. Been a bit busy in the garden again today. Got a few more plants in here, all relevant to this area. Now, I don't put bamboos down here because it just simply doesn't need it. But one place I have put them, and I've put 2 of them, and these were originally going to be a screen on the top of the wall to screen it, but I decided in hindsight that actually that probably isn't a good idea. So we'll put them there. So that's another Fargesia, and it's a Nitida. I believe that's a Nitida type, and it's called Asian Wonder is one of the names they give it. Or Winter Joy is another one. And it has these very, very thin canes, as you can see. Well, they are almost black, those. So they're very nice. And that, again, will make about 12 foot, and it's a very, very tight clump forming one. So it won't run. It's not a running bamboo. If that was a running bamboo, in another year, 2 years' time, I'd expect to find another culm coming up to that leg away from it. And that's, you just don't want that. Now, this is another one. This is the same plant, Asian Wonder. In fact, this one's got the label on it. Yeah, they're calling it Asian Wonder, but it is also called Winter. I think the trade name now is Winter Black. No, sorry, Winter Joy. Winter Joy. Winter Black's the one I showed you a minute ago. So that's really nice. Now I've got another Murellii here. This is a little one that I bought at the side of the road, believe it or not. I bought it because I knew what type it was. And this is definitely Fargesia Murellii. Now it's listed as the umbrella bamboo because that's what Fargesia Murellii is, the umbrella bamboo. And it's an umbrella shape. So once it gets to about 5-6 foot, it starts branching outwards like an umbrella. But again, clump former. Bigger clump former, admittedly, in my experience. It's a bigger clump former, but they start off this size. I picked that up for about £2 on the side of the road. Okay, it wasn't as big as that. It was about 4 or 5 canes, and that was it. That Hasn't found its place yet, but it will. It will, but I have to bear in mind that it's an umbrella type, so it will. In fact, it'll almost do what these are doing at the moment, although these will get taller. It will come out like that. And some of these will, over time, as they get taller, they will branch outwards. So, to go back over what I've said, Phylostachys and the running bamboos, avoid. Definitely avoid those ones. You don't want them. They'll just cause you too much problems. In year 3, they will run and they will cause problems. Look for Fargesias. There's loads and loads of type clump forming bamboos. I only have these ones, so I can only speak about these ones. So look for Nitida. All Nitida are usually good. Remember, Murellii types is the umbrella type, so it will branch outwards as it gets taller, but it still be fine. It's still a clump former. Now, the other thing you could use instead of bamboo, and I know a lot of people do, is they use big miscanthus. So Miscanthus giganteus, you'll know as the elephant grass, that's the common name for it. This isn't. This is Miscanthus lutaria riparius, and this is the one that's in the cage over there as well, the ring bale feeder up there. And it can act like a bamboo. So if you want something like that, it can act like a bamboo. But it is deciduous, so it will die away. So that's the differences, really. So don't look for a running bamboo. Always look for Fargesias. I would never shy you away from a Fargesia. And as I say, I've only got so many bamboos here, so I can only comment on the ones I've got. I'm no bamboo expert. I've just been doing these for the last 20, 30 years. In fact, 30 years, more like it. And I've settled on these ones over that time. I totally avoid the other running types, the Phylostachys. So be careful. Be careful what they write at the garden centres. They're trying to sell you a bamboo. They're not really bothered. So some of them aren't. Some are. Some are bothered and they don't want to sell you that. But to be quite honest, anything that says Phylostachys, clump former, not a clump former, big running bamboo over time. Within 3 years, it'll be sending them out there. While we're here, there's another one. I've forgotten about this one. And this is what they call the red bamboo. And it's a very small type. This will only ever make 5 foot, this particular one. And I can't say the word. I'll have an attempt. It's called Jizegu. If you look at it, it begins with a J. So it's Fargesia Jizegu. And it's a beauty, this one. There's one called Red Panda. I think there's even one called Red Dragon. It's a very tight clump forming one. It's a beauty. An absolute beauty. I've had that one probably 4 years. It's been in here again 3 years. I've moved it a couple of times, actually. I've even taken a split off this one. And it's a lovely one. It has these very fine leaves like a lot of the Fargesias do. They all have this type. And it's a beauty. And most bamboos will go -10 and below quite easily. And they don't die very fast. Now, if sometimes you think they die, they're dead, give them a chance. As I've said in other videos, give things a chance and they will come back. Maybe from the base if we've had a really hard winter, and we would have to have an hard winter to create that. So, clump formers and running bamboos. Avoid running bamboos like your life depends on it, but the clump formers, definitely go and get one. They are an absolute dream, and I love them, and I wouldn't be without them. And this is as close as you can get to a grass and bamboo cross. So this is Muhlenbergia demosa, and it looks like a bamboo, as you can see, but it's actually a grass, and it's just starting to come out in its leaves again. And this is a beauty, but it's very tender, so it won't take our conditions. So I have to put this away. But this year, it didn't stay evergreen as it would in a normal year. It would stay evergreen, but this year it decided it would die away, but it hasn't died away. They're all coming from these dead bits. They're not dead. They appear dead, but they're not. Some will be, but most won't be. So there you go. Hope that's helped you. The person who asked, and I can't remember who it is, I hope that's helped you to decide. In fact, while we're here, this was a find in one of my pots. It appeared as either a seedling, as they can, or as a tiny little root that I never saw in the pot. It was in a grass pot. And this I believe to be Phylostachys bissettii, and they'll say that this is a clumper. It's not a clumper. It can be a clumper, but that clumper would be a big clumper, 20, 30 foot. and still send runners out. So you must avoid it. And as you can see here, I've kept it in this. I don't want it running. I want it staying in that where I'll be happy with it. Give it a chance, because it is a beautiful bamboo. You've got to remember, bamboos, all bamboos. In fact, I know I'm running on a bit. Here's another idea for you people. I've got this in what they call a bamboo root barrier. Before we finish, so see the black? That's a bamboo root barrier. This is for the grass, because I do not want this grass to escape under any conditions. I need it to stay exactly where it is. So I've put root barrier in, which is intended for bamboos. Now it's 900 millimeters deep, so it's a couple of feet deep, and a bamboo won't go deeper than that. The running bamboos tend to go over the surface, but even with the root barrier in the running ones, they can leap over that, and that's what you watch for in May, June time. And you'll find them, you can simply clip them off and stop them. So bamboo root barrier is available to buy online. If you want a Phylostachys type and you're set on getting one, then get yourself some bamboo barrier, and that'll just stop it running. Okay, so I hope that's explained enough for you. I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da!